Lesson 13. The Tabernacle. Sabbath afternoon, September 20. Satan has misrepresented the character of God. He has clothed him with his own attributes. He has represented him as being of inflexible sternness. He had shut the world away from beholding the true character of God by casting his shadow between men and the Divine One. Christ came to our world to remove that shadow. He came to represent the Father. He said, "He that hath seen me hath seen the Father." He prayed that his disciples might be one with him, even as he was one with the Father. Men have declared that this oneness with Christ is an impossibility, but Christ has made it possible by bringing us into harmony with himself through the merits of his life and sacrifice. Why should we doubt the love and power of God? Why should we not place ourselves on the faith side of the question? Do you behold the charms and attractions of Jesus? Then seek to follow in his footsteps. He came to reveal the Father to the world, and he has committed to us the work of representing his love, purity, goodness, and tender sympathy to the children of men. The Love of God, Signs of the Times, April 15, 1889, paragraph 6. The husbandman chooses a piece of land from the wilderness. He fences, clears, and tills it, and plants it with choice vines, expecting a rich harvest. This plot of ground, in its superiority to the uncultivated waste, he expects to do him honor by showing the results of his care and toil in its cultivation. So God had chosen a people from the world to be trained and educated by Christ. The prophet says, "The vineyard of the Lord of hosts is the house of Israel, and the men of Judah his pleasant plant." Isaiah chapter 5, verse 7. Upon this people God had bestowed great privileges, blessing them richly from his abundant goodness. He looked for them to honor him by yielding fruit. They were to reveal the principles of his kingdom. In the midst of a fallen, wicked world, they were to represent the character of God. As the Lord's vineyard, they were to produce fruit altogether different from that of the heathen nations. These idolatrous peoples had given themselves up to work wickedness. Violence and crime, greed, oppression, and the most corrupt practices were indulged without restraint. Iniquity, degradation, and misery were the fruits of the corrupt tree. In marked contrast was to be the fruit borne on the vine of God's planting. It was the privilege of the Jewish nation to represent the character of God as it had been revealed to Moses. In answer to the prayer of Moses, "Show me thy glory," the Lord promised, "I will make all my goodness pass before thee." Exodus chapter 33, verses 18 and 19. And the Lord passed by before him and proclaimed, the Lord God, merciful and gracious, long-suffering and abundant in goodness and truth, keeping mercy for thousands, forgiving iniquity and transgression and sin." Exodus chapter 34, verses 6 and 7. This was the fruit that God desired from his people. In the purity of their characters, in the holiness of their lives, in their mercy and loving kindness and compassion, they were to show that the law of the Lord is perfect, converting the soul. Psalm 19, verse 7. Christ's Object Lessons, page 285. Sunday, September 21. The Sabbath of the Lord. The importance of the Sabbath as the memorial of creation is that it keeps ever present the true reason why worship is due to God, because he is the Creator and we are his creatures. The Sabbath therefore lies at the very foundation of divine worship, for it teaches this great truth in the most impressive manner, and no other institution does this. The true ground of divine worship, not of that on the seventh day merely, but of all worship, is found in the distinction between the Creator and his creatures. This great fact can never become obsolete and must never be forgotten. J. N. Andrews, History of the Sabbath, chapter 27. It was to keep this truth ever before the minds of men that God instituted the Sabbath in Eden. And so long as the fact that he is our Creator continues to be a reason why we should worship him, so long the Sabbath will continue as its sign and memorial. Had the Sabbath been universally kept, man's thoughts and affections would have been led to the Creator as the object of reverence and worship, and there would never have been an idolater, an atheist, or an infidel. The keeping of the Sabbath is a sign of loyalty to the true God, Him that made heaven and earth and the sea and the fountains of waters. It follows that the message which commands men to worship God and keep His commandments will especially call upon them to keep the fourth commandment. The Great Controversy, pages 437 and 438. When the Lord delivered His people Israel from Egypt and committed to them His law, He taught them that by the observance of the Sabbath they were to be distinguished from idolaters. It was this that made the distinction between those who acknowledge the sovereignty of God and those who refuse to accept Him as their Creator and King. It is a sign between me and the children of Israel forever, the Lord said. Wherefore the children of Israel shall keep the Sabbath to observe the Sabbath throughout their generations for a perpetual covenant. Exodus chapter 31, verses 17 and 16. As the Sabbath was the sign that distinguished Israel when they came out of Egypt to enter the earthly Canaan, so it is the sign that now distinguishes God's people as they come out from the world to enter the heavenly rest. The Sabbath is a sign of the relationship existing between God and His people, a sign that they honor His law. It distinguishes between His loyal subjects and transgressors. From the pillar of cloud, Christ declared concerning the Sabbath, "Verily my Sabbaths ye shall keep, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, that ye may know that I am the Lord that doth sanctify you." Exodus chapter 31, verse 13. The Sabbath given to the world as the sign of God as the Creator is also the sign of Him as the Sanctifier. The power that created all things is the power that recreates the soul in His own likeness. To those who keep holy the Sabbath day, it is the sign of sanctification. True sanctification is harmony with God, oneness with Him in character. It is received through obedience to those principles that are the transcript of His character. And the Sabbath is the sign of obedience. He who from the heart obeys the fourth commandment will obey the whole law. He is sanctified through obedience. Testimonies for the Church, Volume 6, pages 349 and 350. Monday, September 22. Offerings and the Spirit. Those who are sons of God will represent Christ in character. Their works will be perfumed by the infinite tenderness, compassion, love, and purity of the Son of God. And the more completely mind and body are yielded to the Holy Spirit, the greater will be the fragrance of our offering to Him. If the spirit of self-denial and self-sacrifice imbued the hearts of all who claim to be children of God, everyone would represent Jesus to the world. It is because of self-seeking on the part of His professed followers that the gospel of Christ is to so great a degree robbed of its power. If our hearts were free from all selfishness, the water of life, flowing from Christ to the world, the gift of righteousness and immortality, brought to light through the gospel, would be imparted to those who are ready to perish. By our unselfish devotion, other souls would be won to Christ. God has ordained that men and women and children should be educated by His word to become co-laborers with Christ in the great work of dispensing His gifts to the world. But those who do this work must be like Christ. They must bear His image and live His pure, unselfish life. By too many, the incarnation and work of the Son of God are but dimly comprehended. He was the majesty of heaven, the King of glory. Yet for your sakes He became poor, that ye through His poverty might be rich. He pleased not Himself, but cheerfully gave His life to ransom the world. He went about doing good, and this we must do if we would cooperate with Him. Selfishness, self-pleasing, self-serving can find no place in the life of the true Christian. The life of Christ is an example of what a Christian can do with the powers given him of God. Do not become discouraged because your gift is not so large as that of someone else. Cheerfully give what you have, and God will bless your efforts. As you press close to the bleeding side of Christ, You will be actuated by His Spirit, and your heart will respond to His call. You will work as He worked, revealing His loving, unselfish spirit. Your faith will be strong, working by love and purifying your soul. Strengthened by power from above, you will be enabled to meet the Lord's requirements, applying yourself resolutely to irksome tasks and self-sacrificing deeds for the Master's sake. The Right Use of God's Gifts, Advent Review and Sabbath Herald, November 24, 1896, paragraphs 15 to 18. Tuesday, September 23. The Tabernacle built. For the building of the sanctuary, great and expensive preparations were necessary. A large amount of the most precious and costly material was required. Yet the Lord accepted only free will offerings. Of every man that giveth it willingly with his heart, ye shall take my offering, was the divine command repeated by Moses to the congregation. Devotion to God and a spirit of sacrifice were the first requisites in preparing a dwelling place for the Most High. All the people responded with one accord. They came, every one whose heart stirred him up, and every one whom his spirit made willing, and they brought the Lord's offering to the work of the tabernacle of the congregation, and for all his service, and for the holy garments. And they came, both men and women, as many as were willing-hearted, and brought bracelets and earrings and rings and tablets, all jewels of gold. And every man that offered an offering of gold unto the Lord. Patriarchs and Prophets, pages 343 and 344. The tabernacle was so constructed that it could be taken apart and borne with the Israelites in all their journeyings. It was therefore small, being not more than 55 feet in length and 18 in breadth and height. Yet it was a magnificent structure. The wood employed for the building and its furniture was that of the acacia tree, which was less subject to decay than any other to be obtained at Sinai. The walls consisted of upright boards set in silver sockets and held firm by pillars and connecting bars, and all were overlaid with gold, giving to the building the appearance of solid gold. The roof was formed of 4 sets of curtains, the innermost of fine twined linen and blue and purple and scarlet, with cherubim of cunning work. The other 3 respectively were of goat's hair, ram skins dyed red, and seal skins so arranged as to afford complete protection. The building was divided into 2 apartments by a rich and beautiful curtain, or veil, suspended from gold-plated pillars, and a similar veil closed the entrance of the first apartment. In the first apartment, or holy place, were the table of showbread, the candlestick, or lampstand, and the altar of incense. The table of showbread stood on the north. On this table the priests were each Sabbath to place 12 cakes arranged in 2 piles and sprinkled with frankincense. On the south was the 7-branch candlestick with its 7 lamps. Its branches were ornamented with exquisitely wrought flowers resembling lilies, and the whole was made from one solid piece of gold. Just before the veil separating the holy place from the most holy and the immediate presence of God stood the golden altar of incense. The fire upon this altar was kindled by God himself and was sacredly cherished. Beyond the inner veil was the Holy of Holies, where centered the symbolic service of atonement and intercession, and which formed the connecting link between heaven and earth. In this apartment was the ark, a chest of acacia wood, overlaid within and without with gold, and having a crown of gold about the top. It was made as a depository for the tables of stone upon which God himself had inscribed the 10 Commandments. Hence it was called the Ark of God's Testament, or the Ark of the Covenant, since the 10 Commandments were the basis of the covenant made between God and Israel. Patriarchs and Prophets, pages 347 and 348. Wednesday, September 24. God's presence in the tabernacle. No language can describe the glory of the scene presented within the sanctuary. The gold-plated walls reflecting the light from the golden candlestick, the brilliant hues of the richly embroidered curtains with their shining angels, the table and the altar of incense glittering with gold. Beyond the second veil, the sacred ark, with its mystic cherubim, and above it, the holy Shekinah, the visible manifestation of Jehovah's presence. All but a dim reflection of the glories of the temple of God in heaven, the great center of the work for man's redemption. A period of about half a year was occupied in the building of the tabernacle. When it was completed, Moses examined all the work of the builders, comparing it with the pattern shown him in the mount and the directions he had received from God. As the Lord had commanded, even so had they done it. And Moses blessed them. With eager interest, the multitudes of Israel crowded around to look upon the sacred structure. While they were contemplating the scene with reverent satisfaction, the pillar of cloud floated over the sanctuary and, descending, enveloped it. And the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. There was a revealing of the divine majesty, and for a time even Moses could not enter. With deep emotion, the people beheld the token that the work of their hands was accepted. There were no loud demonstrations of rejoicing. A solemn awe rested upon all, but the gladness of their hearts welled up in tears of joy, and they murmured low, earnest words of gratitude that God had condescended to abide with them. Patriarchs and Prophets, page 349. After the work of the tabernacle was finished, a cloud covered the tent of the congregation, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. And Moses was not able to enter into the tent of the congregation because the cloud abode thereon, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. And when the cloud was taken up from over the tabernacle, the children of Israel went onward in all their journeys. But if the cloud was not taken up, then they journeyed not till the day that it was taken up. For the cloud of the Lord was upon the tabernacle by day, and fire was on it by night, in the sight of all the house of Israel, throughout all their journeys. The tabernacle was constructed so as to be taken to pieces and borne with them in all their journeyings. Spiritual Gifts, Volume 4A, page 10. In the manifestation of God to his people, light had ever been a symbol of his presence. At the creative word in the beginning, light had shone out of darkness. Light had been enshrouded in the pillar of cloud by day and the pillar of fire by night, leading the vast armies of Israel. Light blazed with awful grandeur about the Lord on Mount Sinai. Light rested over the mercy seat in the tabernacle. Light filled the temple of Solomon at its dedication. Light shone on the hills of Bethlehem when the angels brought the message of redemption to the watching shepherds. The Desire of Ages, page 464. Thursday, September 25. Jesus tabernacled with humanity. Nearly 2,000 years ago, a voice of mysterious import was heard in heaven from the throne of God. Lo, I come. Sacrifice and offering thou wouldest not, but a body hast thou prepared me. Lo, I come. In the volume of the book it is written of me, to do thy will, O God. Hebrews chapter 10, verses 5-7. In these words is announced the fulfillment of the purpose that had been hidden from eternal ages. Christ was about to visit our world and to become incarnate. He says, a body hast thou prepared me. Had he appeared with the glory that was his with the Father before the world was, we could not have endured the light of his presence. That we might behold it and not be destroyed, the manifestation of his glory was shrouded. His divinity was veiled with humanity, the invisible glory in the visible human form. This great purpose had been shadowed forth in types and symbols. The burning bush in which Christ appeared to Moses revealed God. The symbol chosen for the representation of the deity was a lowly shrub that seemingly had no attractions. This enshrined the infinite. The all-merciful God shrouded his glory in a most humble type, that Moses could look upon it and live. So in the pillar of cloud by day and the pillar of fire by night, God communicated with Israel, revealing to men his will and imparting to them his grace. God's glory was subdued and his majesty veiled, that the weak vision of finite men might behold it. So Christ was to come in the body of our humiliation. Philippians chapter 3, verse 21, Revised Version. In the likeness of men. In the eyes of the world, he possessed no beauty that they should desire him. Yet he was the incarnate God, the light of heaven and earth. His glory was veiled, his greatness and majesty were hidden, that he might draw near to sorrowful, tempted men. God commanded Moses for Israel, "Let them make me a sanctuary that I may dwell among them." Exodus chapter 25, verse 8. And he abode in the sanctuary in the midst of his people. Through all their weary wandering in the desert, the symbol of his presence was with them. So Christ set up his tabernacle in the midst of our human encampment. He pitched his tent by the side of the tents of men, that he might dwell among us and make us familiar with his divine character and life. The Word became flesh and tabernacled among us, and we beheld his glory, glory as of the only begotten from the Father, full of grace and truth. John chapter 1, verse 14, Revised Version, margin. Since Jesus came to dwell with us, we know that God is acquainted with our trials and sympathizes with our griefs. Every son and daughter of Adam may understand that our Creator is the friend of sinners. For in every doctrine of grace, every promise of joy, every deed of love, every divine attraction presented in the Savior's life on earth, we see God with us. The Desire of Ages, pages 23 and 24. For further reading, Two Hands for God, Conflict and Courage, March 31, page 96, and The Purpose of the Sanctuary, The Faith I Live By, July 5, page 192.